Hello, all. There should be no audio problems tonight. I also did find out why some people were hearing me on one channel only, and that has been addressed. So, with the blessings of those who bless us, we should be able to conduct this with the sobriety that will be required. And I will be turning on my camera in a moment. Charles, please settle down. This subject is one that we will need focus on, and if the focus is difficult, then this will not be the chat for you. So before I come on and turn my camera on, as I was lighting the incense, it's funny how that slipped because we're going to be talking about, well, not so much an insect as an arthropod, but as I was lighting the incense to begin this show, spider showed itself to me. Actually, it was crawling quite close. So of course I greeted it, and then I realized that even though I don't get spider medicine that often, apparently spider wants to open. So I will turn to the page and let spider speak to us. Okay. Spider is weaving. Spider weaving webs of delight. Weave me a peaceful world, carrying creation into your web, waiting to be unfurled. Well, where's that synchronicity bell? Because that's exactly what this stream is about. Weaving a peaceful world that is still waiting to be unfurled. Spider wove the web that brought humans to the first picture of the alphabet. The letters were part of the angles of her web. Deer asked Spider what she was weaving and why all the lines looked like symbols. Spider replied, "Why, dear, it is time for Earth's children to learn to make records of their progress in their Earth walk." Deer answered Spider, "But they already have pictures that show through symbols the stories of their experiences." "Yes," Spider said, "but Earth's children are growing more complex, and their future generations will need to know more. The ones to come won't remember how to read the petroglyphs." So it was that Spider wove the first primordial alphabet, as she had woven the dream of the world that had become manifest. Spider's dream of the physical world had come to fruition millions of years before. Spider's body is made like the number 8, consisting of 2 lobe-like parts connected at the waist and 8 legs. Spider is the symbol for the infinite possibilities of creation. Her 8 legs represent the 4 winds of change in the 4 directions on the medicine wheel. Spider weaves the webs of fate for those who get caught in her web and become her dinner. This is similar to humans who get caught in the web of illusion in the physical world and never see beyond the horizon into the other dimensions. The web of fate also represents a wheel of life, which does not include any alternatives or solutions. It is typically human to get caught in the polarity of good or bad fortune without realizing that we can change it at any time. If we are not decisive enough about changing our lots in life, we may end up being consumed by our fears and limitations. Spider is the female energy of the creative force that weaves the beautiful designs of life. Her web has hundreds of intricate patterns which catch the morning dew. If Spider has dropped from her web into your cards today, she may be telling you to create, create, create. Look for new alternatives to your present impasse. She can also be warning you that you are coming too close to an entangling situation. Spider could be asking you to use a journal to write out and review your progress. If you do this, you will not forget how you are creating a new or different phase in your life. Spider brings a message of a different kind when she sees you becoming a bit too involved in the weaving of your life plans to notice an opportunity at the outskirts of your web. If this is the case, Spider gets your attention so that you notice that something you have woven has borne fruit. Congratulations. Spider caught you just in time before you missed the opportunity on the edge of your web or reality. The most important message from Spider is that you are in an infinite being who will continue to weave the patterns of life and living throughout time. Do not fail to see the expansiveness of the eternal plan. All right, time for me to put on the camera. And welcome those. Let me see who's joined us. Hello, I'll just start at the top. Charles Williamson was here early and apparently a little bored. Let me get down to where it all ends. Thank you. Okay, well, hello, Madfinger. Thank you for being here. And Ellie. And Meandering Mystic. And my brother, Rakshamoose. Gary Baxter, Deborah Rubenfeld, Jessica, Kalendal, and Robin. And Mind Virus, interesting name. Christian Martin, hello, and Tammy Sanford. So, welcome all. Welcome to, hello Chris, and Sam Webster. Lisa Gray, thank you for joining this unexpected stream. Even I was not expecting it, although I felt something percolating. And I just felt I need to just share some of concerns, thoughts, and focus. Spider, obviously, I mean, interestingly enough, I had just finished the meditative prayer, if you want to call it, to begin the show and to be filled with the correct spirit. and to be guided, especially by the two Dakinis on shift, Bhudevi and Green Tara, who was particularly wrathful, Green Tara, in this lunar cycle. Hello, Sarath the Mage. And part of why I titled this Ecocide is because the diminishing of the ecosystem is no longer, to me, a yellow flag. It is now a red flag situation. In my own backyard, now the roommates have cats and they generally keep the lawn fairly well clipped, so there aren't as many flowers. But in the abandoned house next door to me, there are plenty of wild clover growing in the lawn. Lots of wild clover. And I don't see a single bee on clover. And clover is a favorite of bees. That's why there is clover honey. I saw my first bumblebee over at the house. I saw it flying, and then it landed upside down on a piece of the house, and I addressed it. I greeted it. I asked it how it was doing, and it was sad, and it was doing poorly. Then I had a friend of mine who lives in New Hampshire, and he's in a fairly rural part, and he walks the trails often. And there were plenty of black bears in that part of the woods, and he carries a gun with him, not to shoot bears, because the sound of a gun going off will alert a bear and will make them scurry. So as he's walking with his son, they noticed there was something up in a tree in the branches, and they looked up and they saw 2 bear cubs. Well, you don't see bear cubs, especially small enough to be up in branches of trees, without a mama bear. So right away, as they're proceeding on down the trail, they're expecting to encounter mama bear, and it didn't take long before they saw her. Mama bear was emaciated. Mama bear put up a pathetic threat display as she rose up on her hind legs and couldn't stay there long enough because of her weakness. This is breaking my heart. Interestingly enough, the only records of black bears, and I think this goes back to the 90s, were in some campers in Canada. There was a few incidents where campers were killed and their partially eaten bodies found. And since bears generally have a territory all their own, they found the bear that had killed them, and they found that the bear was in an advanced stage of starvation. The only time black bears will see humans as food is when their food chain collapses. I'm quite sure this mother bear probably saw the 2 people on a trail and might have thought of them as dinner if she had the strength to chase them. She didn't have the strength to stand up on her own hind legs for more than a few seconds. This is not about pole shift. This is about what is being sprayed from the air. The same person who's up there in maple syrup country, because it's maple tree country, has also spoken of how the maples are dying. And he says they're dying from within. They're dying because they have all the aluminum and barium that they're picking up in their roots. And of course, dying trees invite bugs, because that's what bugs will do. And then of course the bugs in the trees invite the woodpeckers. So the maple trees are full of holes as they live their last. This is Ecocide. And of course, many of the population has now moved to cities where such observations cannot be made. They have removed themselves from nature, living in cities. And they might go camping, but they don't know what nature looks like. They might go camping and realize, oh, how wonderful, there's not so many bees around that might sting me. Of course, the psychopaths who are behind this, supported by a completely tuned out population who would rather watch the mainstream news because a large portion of the population is not happy with the current president. I have never been happy with a president. But something has changed this time. There's a hate. And so people who should be actually tuning into something more wholesome, something a little more maybe human-based, have tuned into psychopathic TV to get their dose of hate against a man that they hate. And this is not about politics. This is not about good president, bad president. As I said, regardless of party, I have never really liked any of our presidents. The two-party system, or more, are constructs by the social engineers. And they kind of parse them just enough to pull people emotionally one way or the other. Not logically, but emotionally. As you might notice, one of Gaia's daughters, Pele, is doing a little land building in Hawaii. And of course, some people are, they are responding to the fact that people are losing their houses. That is true. People, and when these things happen, if you happen to be there, people did lose their houses. But in traditional societies, there was no land ownership. So if a few people lost their houses, the community would do house raisings and they would relocate. There was no mortgages. There were no taxes. There was the earth free to use. That is not currently the situation. The city-states have stopped freedom. Civilization, in the form of the city-states, has stopped freedom. Hello, Jeff. We are at a crossroads. A crossroads that requires focus and not entertainment. We can be jovial by all means in our meaningful work. We can be on the journey and telling fart jokes along the way, as long as we are focused on what our problems are and what some solutions are. But we haven't gotten past identifying the real problems yet. So we don't have to trouble ourselves with, oh, what are we going to do to fix this? We're not there yet. We have to see the problems first. And of course, the biggest problem is always us as a community and what our focus is. Let me mute my mic while I clear my throat. Focus, a requirement for any skill. Focus and dedication, and enough time spent to develop that skill. Part of the skill that could use a lot of development is discernment. Now, one of the things we can do, even though we don't have the freedom of traditional societies, is to start thinking as in a more traditional, communal way. We speak of our communities, but who are our elders? Where is a council of wisdom? One that does not sit isolated and can certainly be assailed should they fail. But where is that? It's not even where are elders? Where are people who even want such a thing? It really seems that rather than elders, people want entertainers, which is why we discuss jokes like David Wilcock and Corey Good and other New Age entertainers, as if they actually have something to say. The poverty of their language and their message should be obvious, but it isn't. And then, of course, what do? We discuss the poverty and then keep them afloat by making them relevant. All of this is dependent on the behavior of the community. If there is no support, if there is no interest for David Wilcock or those who discuss their sins, then we could focus. But we are at a point where it really seems it's about the entertainment and the lulls. And again, there's plenty of humor and good work. Carpenters joke, plumbers joke. Just to kind of get some nitty gritty, and then not to, it's not to. I don't mean to make it quite so laborious in my example. Hello, Deborah. It's not a matter of being late. It's a matter where you're here. And the immediate change that can be had is a change in our attitude, focus, and kind of drawing our own personal line for ourselves of what is important. What do we consume? Are we consuming that which will enable us to have greater discernment? Are we consuming that which will focus us on ourselves? All of us, every single one of us, we are in an organism. We are a cellular organism. And will we recognize that some are spending a lot of their time in their journeying and their meditations so they can be clear enough to put some of the good ideas into language? So, thank you, Raksha. You've been doing a great job, as always. Yeah, it's... places like Leak Project and the various guests that are on there is like a smorgasbord of it's just a smorgasbord of GMO food. So I'm just got. I feel I got a good bit out. I want to be quiet for a moment for myself. I want to have a look in the chat, which I've kind of peripherally went towards, occasionally even responded to, but I have largely not focused on it so I could look straight into the camera. Because, and this probably, I can't imagine this going for much more than an hour. Unless the song and dance breaks out afterwards. And as Madfinger says, no more sacrifice offerings. And the offerings are in their own way. Even the word sacrifice has been distorted. Sacra, sacred. Face from facer, meaning to make sacred. So if you ever use the word sacrifice, always understand that it's actually an offering, and it's the making of that offering sacred. The words that we offer in our communication to Takinis, our mother, Gaia Sophia, the planetary animal mother, Pam for short. These are offerings. These are our words made sacred. This is our communion. So I'm just going to take a quick little breather. I've taken to smoking my cigarettes outside, so I won't be smoking here right now. Part of that is we're going to get a little inspection by the person who owns the house, and cigarette smell would not be appreciated. And of course, so the title is Ecocide Report. It is serious. KWP stands for the Kalika War Party. I'm going to not speak about that immediately. It'll be done before this hour is up, or probably in the next very short while. I will touch that topic. I'll unpack it a little bit. There's a saying I've been using once in a while in different places, and or the little phrase, and that is, Kali's necklace needs fresh heads. When I think of Monsanto and GMO, when I think of poison raining down on us from certain outfitted jets, when I hear the CEO of Nestle say that water is not a right, but he'll be glad to sell it to us. When I hear Bill Gates talk about vaccinations and other things, Kali's necklace comes to mind. Figuratively and metaphorically, in cases, it's like, oh, you mean we should chop off their heads? No. But I think you might know what that means. There's a lot, there's still some infighting, people arguing over belief systems and who's telling the truth and whatever. And people get angry. People get plugged in. People fucking dox each other. We, the people, the community, turning on each other. Do you not think that there are people who speak? They're reported in the news. They're quoted. If you feel some rage, do you not think at least to turn the rage on those who most deserve it instead of on each other? And the reason we might turn it on each other rather than those who deserve at least the rage directed at them is lack of focus, frivolity, seeking entertainment, distraction from the real problems at hand. So we fuck with each other. Kind of like watching children when there's toys there and one child reaches another child's toy and they go, mine, mine. They haven't learned yet. They're still children. And hopefully they will grow out of that. Many do, not all. Clearly, and especially the ones who don't seem to grow out of that, seem to go on to be CEOs, at least of the notorious corporations. Because I don't paint with a broad brush. I can't say every single CEO is a bad person. But there are CEOs out there who, by their words, by their quotes, we know are psychopathic. They deserve our rage and the focus of that rage. And then maybe perhaps we can stop messing with each other. Because messing with each other is something that makes psychopaths very, very happy. And I don't know about you, I don't want to make them happy. I want to make them scared. Own your power, people. There's billions of us. Focus. Have we ever really tried real focus without fucking distractions, without interpersonal nonsense, without the entertainment from the endless entertainment that can be found on YouTube? So anyway, I'm going to breathe for a moment. And yes, Mad Finger, we're going there. That's right, Chris. The Earth will survive. And she does love her children. And so there needs to be some precision in removing the pathogens. Hello, Seven Serpents. We humans can provide that precision through our focus, individually, but best collectively. And through our focus, through our being clear of what we would like to see gone, well then Kali gets a wink and she can be about her work. So let me just I did ask the Dakinis to use me. It's very clear which one of the two stepped in. No, Ellie. This isn't about finding one person and helping. This is a human species thing. This is about the anthropos. That's band-aiding. This is not about a band-aid. Actually, we don't need band-aids. We need targets. And ordinance. But what is the proper ordinance for the magical child? Well, I think that part of the answer to that is in the term magical child. What was forbidden by the sky gods? Magic. So what would be a really good kind of a fuck you? To hell with your jealousy. We're returning to our magical roots. With focus, compassion for the human species, and a sense of immunocompetency. That is, an immune response is mounted to an obvious pathogen, obvious to those who wish to focus on the obvious rather than the frivolous. Oh, man. I'm seeing the word activism. There are many forms it can take, but for those of us into planetary tantra and into our natural magical heritage, there is a form of magical activism. But discipline and knowing thyself is a requirement. You don't hand a sharp knife or a grenade to people who don't realize the gravity of the tool in their hand. Focus and heeding the words of people that we consider wise. It is for each of us to decide who is wise, who is offering wisdom. And then once you are comfortable, then we can really begin to build very strong and enduring foundations. Tammy has already said that she needs to use the caps so she can see them. Again, the caps are not a problem. What is written in caps is the only issue. So just please understand that Tammy is using caps so that she can see what she is writing. In most situations, Sarath, in most situations, in many situations, all caps certainly sounds like shouting in a written form. But she's told us why she's using them, and I can show compassion for that very easily. Thank you, Madfinger. So if I'm going to keep this to about an hour, which I do want to do, maybe it's time to be a little controversial, or at least broach a subject that certainly has a triggered controversy to it, or has triggered controversy in people. And that is the Kalika War Party. Kalika War Party is a term that John Lamlash, the Gnostic teacher, was given. One of the things I've come to understand, largely to my journeying, and as I mentioned a few times when in my preparation to sit with John, I asked for guidance from myself and instead got a tour of who John is and why he does what he does. So the Kalika War Party, I would say, is him following instruction. And then as a teacher, he shares that instruction. We have been conditioned by the social engineers to have an undiscerning compassion. That is almost like love everything. When we think of ourselves as an organism, a living organism that is really just trying to mind its own business on the earth that is theirs, is part of the dreaming they were born into. When there are pathogens that seek either to parasitize or kill that organism, our compassion, if we are immunocompetent, our compassion is for our organism, ourselves, not against the attacker. So that's where discernment comes in. The fact that there are people out there who are plain just psychopathic, there's no need to pay them any mind. It is when that pathology is directed towards what is wholesome, and there is ill intent, even deadly intent, upon the organism simply trying to enjoy itself on this beautiful planet. Ugly world, beautiful planet. So compassion, first and foremost, has to be for ourselves and our own survival and our own well-being. This is not a time to think that the wolf looks hungry. Perhaps we should share our steak with it. We are under attack, people. And it's a focused one. And part of it is falling out of the skies. Who's doing the spraying? You and I are spraying each other in the fact that that isn't Jacob Rothschild flying the jet. That's a neighbor of somebody in probably maybe a better neighborhood, but nevertheless one of us. So there are people, there are psychopaths who gather the chemicals and provide these million-dollar jets and the agenda, and sign the paychecks of our neighbors who will get into these jets and do what they do. We need to focus on where the problem really lies, and it isn't on the pilots of the jets who poison us. We can be a little angry at them, but I wouldn't take that energy and direct it at people who are kind of lost. We need to focus it where it's coming from. And it's not just one, but again, there are people like the CEO of Nestle's. That's a fucking psychopath. And if you ever had a good chance to look at him, there ain't no makeup that can cover up how rotten this person is. Interestingly enough, I read it today on Minds. Rex Tillerson, the now retired Secretary of State with Donald Trump, he supports fracking, but he has a ruling that no fracking can happen within, I forget what the distance is. It was on Minds. It's a good piece of land. In other words, I support fracking, but not on my cow farm. Once again, they're out there and they're being busted. The people who suck and are sucking on us are there to be found. And it wasn't even I mean, Minds, you can just scroll. I mean, there are a number of people who live to bring us the bad news, but in that bad news, we can identify a few scoundrels. I needed that, Jeff. That you kicked Nestle and fracking out of your county. That's very good news. And that's right. You as a community made it happen. Because you focused on what was important. You focused on what needed to be done. This isn't about blue chickens. This isn't about making fun of the people who brought us the blue chickens. There's some real shit happening. Corey Good and David Wilcock are clowns. Commentary on the circus. I don't know how important all that is. Okay, I'm going to stop because I think I've left the chat alone too long, and I'm not sure what exactly is going on here. Jeff, I'd be very pleased if you'd let me handle the conversation. Like I'm taking it in a certain place. Once again, I'm really glad that you shared that about Nestle's. Okay, well, I can always do a live stream another time. I seem to be having some technical difficulties, and I do need to remedy those technical difficulties before proceeding. Besides, 8 minutes short of an hour is close to an hour, and this was a heavy delivery. Be interesting to see. I mean, I can remember some of it, but it wasn't just me. So I'm going to bring this edition of Can't You Hear Me Gnostic Ecocide report. It is serious. We didn't get to the KWP part very much, but we got to touch it a little bit, and I'm glad. So there's 2 days until the next Can't You Hear Me Gnostic, and depending on how the Maya Vidyas, the Dakinis of this shift, what's on their mind, they represent the mood of our mother. And I am very much there, and in service, and in, we have the hands, we have the bodies, we can bring the focus. And so, from my chair in my humble bedroom, I thank you all for joining us, and please realize that I might schedule another live stream before my Monday night, and it might not happen, but there's a lot of energy with this lunar cycle, and those of us who are attuned to it, we have a responsibility to reach who we can with it, so that we can all share in this together, share in planetary tantra together. And that's what this part is. The Kalika War Party is its own unique thing, but Ecocide and addressing the problems and knowing who we are, where we are, what our reality is, where we are in that, not being seduced and drawn away by systems that do not bring us to the earth, but bring us to spheres and different heavens and lords of this and lords of that. That's a bunch of bullshit. If you like it, enjoy your shit meal. I can no longer just sit still while the lunacy is just flying all over the place. It wouldn't be in the integrity, and it wouldn't be making the words sacred. So there's certainly ideas that have been delivered here. You might want to, if you can deal with it and hide the chat and maybe watch it again and listen to it, because it wasn't, I am the body, and I'm certainly present, but I know that I could feel it. I'm sitting in this body as it gets filled, and I think if I can remember correctly, some important things got said. So that is now my saying goodnight. I will now hit my stop streaming button and continue until... Oh, I didn't realize I didn't even realize I had never put myself back on camera. Or maybe I was on camera and then I hit the word C. Who knows? But now I'm looking at you. Maybe some of the, I don't know, I'll have to watch it. Some of the intent stares into the camera. Maybe it was best nobody saw that. I'll find out in the replay. I'll have to replay it so I can kind of hear what I said. So I'm going to stop the